If you ever looked up creepy pictures on Google, then you know dang well that you stumbled across this infamous image of the Rake at some point, and in this video, I'm gonna be trying my best to answer the question, where does this image come from? I think it's safe to say that the Rake is among some of the most infamous images that accompany their respective creepypasta stories, and sometimes it can prove difficult pinpointing the exact origin of certain images, such as the case with the picture of my goofy Uncle Jeff the Killer. Before we attempt to find where this kumala looking thing comes from, what exactly is the Rake? In a nutshell, it's a creature that's humanoid, hairless, and attack people, and a game ends them. That's obviously an oversimplification, but let's go to the fun part. Let's find out exactly where this image comes from. So my journey begins on a site which is home to people who need to touch grass, aka Reddit mods. I literally just searched where did the Rake image come from on Google, and boom, it took me to this thread. And the most upvoted reply immediately caught my attention. They claim it was a promotional image for a video game called Resistance 3, and boom, that's it. We've got the answer, and this video is over, right? Not quite. Let's get into the nuance. For starters, I find that a lot of different sites claim that it was used as a promotional image for the game Resistance 3, but I also find that some sites say that it originated from a site called Wild Game Innovations after an assumed deer hunter from Berwick, Louisiana uploaded it, and from there it spread to mainstream media, social media, and was even featured on a local Louisiana news report.
Okay, so you know how we ask you to send in your pics so we can put them in our newscast? Well, you gotta see what one viewer claims his friend found at a hunting camp in Berwick. I really don't even know what that is.
I even found some sites claiming it was used as a viral marketing stunt for J.J. Abrams' Super 8 film. Some sites say it's like a Resistance 3 hoax, but in the end, a lot of the sites claiming all this information provide little to no sources or conclusive evidence as to any of it being the actual case. In fact, the contrary seems to be true. The developers of Resistance 3 Insomniac Games made a joke tweet saying, "Whoops, looks like one got out. If you see a Grim, who's a creature from the game, on the loose, please return." And then they link an article pretty much describing the creature, how the hunter found it, and insisted it's not a hoax, and how it's trying to pull a Spider-Man pose out of all things. The point is, no one is telling us who made this image or where it came from, and it all seems to be like hearsay. Yes, the developers of the game made this tweet, but that doesn't mean they made the image, and they don't even claim to have done so. The Rake just so happens to kind of look like that grim creature from the game. And he also looks like Joe Mama. Okay, I know, I'm self-aware, I know, I just threw a bunch of information at your face, but let's get a little bit more objective. Let's try to work with something a bit more concrete, like dates. I know we're trying to find the origin of this image, but I think it's important to get the full picture of the entire origin story to understand this my precious looking thing, and you'll see why. Also, the research I did to make this video got me feeling like Sherlock Holmes, so please watch, thank you. Like literally everything on the internet, the Rake actually originates from 4chan, not the image itself, but rather the concept of it. Now, a ton of different wikis, sites, and most prominently Know Your Meme make it a point to include that it came from 4chan's random board in late 2005. An anonymous user started a thread saying, "Hey B, let's make a new monster," and the thread started with this post. The Rake creature went through some design and name changes, going by another name called Operation Crawler. And here's actually some characteristics of it that were originally on the thread. You can also pause and read that if you want. Now, initially, I was a bit skeptical of literally every single thing that I read that included this 4chan origin information, mainly due to the fact that I didn't have a source for this information. So I decided to reach out to the one who initially created this entry about the Rake on Know Your Meme, user and moderator Tomberry. I asked Tomberry a couple of questions, with the first one being, in the origin section of the article, it mentioned how the Rake originated from 4chan and proceeds to give some context as to what was said on the thread. How did you gather that information? And do you have any archives of that thread? And Tomberry responded, I took this unsourced info from user Oxil. I don't know if they're still active on here though. They came to me with this backstory and asked for editorship of the entry. I asked them about it and about this Operation Crawler he was talking about, and this is what they answered. Quote, unfortunately not. The archive wasn't put in until late 2006, so it wouldn't be there. And I don't know if any screenshots of the thread. I only know of it because I was involved in it, and the only evidence I have is the text file I saved with the note referring to the 4chan thread of the description and of the making, if you will, of the new monster. Operation Crawler was just one of the many nicknames the thing was given. Operation Crawler is the same thing as the Rake. The Rake just ended up being the name that stuck. They are, referring to Oxo, the one who added that origin bit. I had a hunch there weren't any screenshots or archives of this initial thread, but I don't doubt this information is correct given how a lot of early memes, creepypasta stories, and the sort originate from 4chan. But now that we know where the concept of this new monster, aka the Rake, comes from, how does that have anything to do with the infamous Rake image and the creepypasta we know today? Let's fast forward about a year, specifically July 20th, 2006, on a blog by user Panda6, where one of the first instances of the Rake story was blogged and eventually turned into a creepypasta, which would end up on LiveJournal in around December 2008. From there, it would make its way back to 4chan's paranormal board by April 2009, and then to something awful by June of that same year. It would then go on to be picked up by horror story databases such as creepypasta.com, Unexplained Mysteries, and much more. And by August 2010, it would finally reach the r/paranormal subreddit. 2010 is the same year this image started gaining notoriety, and this brings us back to that Reddit post from the beginning of the video, the one that says this image is from Resistance 3. I decided to send a message to user the unfunny Chilean boy, the one who originally made that reply, and I asked him if he had a source from the claim he made, and it turns out, like I suspected, it was actually false information and it's not actually from Resistance 3. However, he did end up sending me one piece of the puzzle that I've been missing, something that predates this tweet the devs made, and something that predates some of these articles that I found, which is December 10, 2010. He sent me one of the first instances of the Rake image being posted online, specifically in an archery.com forum posted by user Hilly Billy Will, which dates December 2nd, 2010. And funnily enough, this is the exact same link I found when doing some digging around and stumbled across this WTSP article, which not only links to the original archerytalk.com forum, but it also links to a very interesting blog post by Job West debunking that the Rake image is real. The creator of the blog also links to the original archerytalk.com forum, and it turns out Hilly Billy Willy was the owner of the camera this photo was taken on, and there's multiple other photos of the exact same camera in the exact same position in the daytime and in the nighttime, and he even goes as far to open up the image's EXIF data, and it turns out the base image was actually manipulated in Photoshop, and this seems to be the actual photo of origin. And I think it's safe to say somewhere along the line, people started pairing this image up alongside the Rake creepypasta, probably due to the similar characteristics of the creature described in the story. I'm not sure exactly when people started referring to this image as the Rake, but none of the initial articles from December 2010 this image is featured on has any mention of the copypasta or even the name the Rake. Overall, this is a story of how a 4chan thread led to a copypasta, which led to it becoming a creepypasta, which led to it being paired with this image, which originates from a freaking archerytalk.com forum, which originates from a user named Hilly Billy Willy. If I'm completely wrong and the photo actually comes from TikTok in the year 2069, it was created by Joe Mama, then please correct me.
When I'm on YouTube, I be like swanane, eating my chicken noodle soup just like swanane. When I hit that nene.